Okay, this is Annie Ross. I'm with the Lakewood Ranch Town Hall, and we're doing our virtual training of the TEKControl visitor management system. We have Sean Jolly. He's with TechWave, who is the company that has made TEKControl. He's going to step us through all of the instructions using our own database, so it should be very informative for everyone. I do have everybody muted, and you'll have to raise your hand in order to be able to ask a question, or you can go ahead and use the chat room to ask a question. Send it to either everyone or myself, and actually the host, the Lakewood Ranch Town Hall one. And let me see if there's any other instructions as we go through this. If you're calling just from a phone, to raise your hand, I believe is *6 is to unmute, I'm sorry, and *9 is to raise your hand. It's a little more difficult if you're just calling from the phone, but if you're in your tablet or your computer, then use the chat function, and it's at the bottom of the participants list. So as you scroll over your view of the screen, you should get some menu options like the participants icon, and also the chat function is found there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jolly, and I'll just chime in a little bit every once in a while to make comments specific to Lakewood Ranch.
Okay. Well, Annie, thank you very much. Again, Sean Jolly here with TechWave Solutions. I'm the sales director for the Eastern Division. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what we call the host software, the resident software, which is available both a desktop or an app. Most people use the app, but you can do the same thing with both applications. Today, I'm going to show the desktop just because it's easier to show from a computer as a demo, so to speak. While I'm going through this today, I will make pauses for people to ask questions. So with most of the questions, I do ask that they pertain to the software. Annie, like she said, will chime in more things that are specific to your community. But today's focus, as far as questions toward me, if you could keep them toward aimed at the software and how it functions. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump to your website here. Annie and company had done something, and at your website, you have something here called Find Your Service. And there you have Gatehouse Visitor Management System. We've given Annie some of the manuals for both the app and the desktop, and she's put those here. I'm going to go ahead and go in here. And if you go in here, what this does, it goes through the process of what we call pre-registration. Annie, has this group, by the way, which group am I speaking with today, Annie?
This is a mixture of both Edgewater and the country club areas. So they should have all received their registration email that you have showing a little view of right there. If you haven't, then it would be a question to ask info@lwrtownhall.com. I'll put that email address up visually on the screen at the end of the training session, so you can take a picture of it, screenshot it, or and I'll also send you a follow-up email after our training session with a number of items that we go through, links to different things.
Okay. So, and like she said, this right here will actually show you screen by screen as you're pre-registering. And go ahead, and a lot of that stuff would be imported, like your first and last names and things like that. That's how we got the information to get you guys the pre-registration. But once you've done all of this, and it has some questions for you, like your primary number, what's the primary number that you would want the guard to call you if they needed to. So go ahead and put that in. You can put all of this in another area, and I will show you later. But while you're pre-registering, you have the ability to do this as well. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just because I've already pre-registered, so I can't show this other than these pictures right here. But if you see, and you'll see this section later, it's about announcements. This is the text message side, and this is the email side. You'll see it later in a much bigger application here shortly. But if you want to check these now, you can, or you can check them later, and you'll see when I get into that other area. The main concern here is that when you're pre-registering, A, you get you a password in there, and B, you get a primary phone number. Again, you can change that number as well, but now one thing that comes up once you've gone through this process, you're going to be asked to log in. One thing the manual doesn't mention, and it will on our next version of manuals, but your username is the email address that you gave Annie, or the pre-registration came to. That is your username, that full email address, and then whatever password you set. These here lower here, you can see detailed instructions on the web portal. That would be the desktop. That's what we call the web portal, or detailed instructions on the app, and that's the phone app. So feel free to download those, look at them. They're step by step. It'll go through a lot of what I'm talking about today, but if you happen to forget, you do have these on your website. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. I don't think there's a need really to go to your home page here.
Actually, Sean, would you mind going back to the what to expect? I think there's just some pictures there that might be helpful as we're going through and talking about the different things. Just the picture of the kiosk there at Edgewater.
That's
and we'll
correct.
talk, you'll be talking about all these different user items, but just wanting to let them know there's that what to expect page too that kind of shows you visually that. And if you scroll down just a little bit more, it visually shows you an example of what your visitor or vendor would, an example ePass/QR code. So just wanted to point that out.
No, I'm going to go through it a little bit because that leads me right into my next section. I didn't know you had this on here. So as you guys may have seen, like Annie said, you have these kiosks at your gates. You've probably seen these mounted up. And that's a picture of the software. And here shortly, I'm going to log into one of these to actually your machine and show you a little closer view of how it works and what it does. So this is perfect, Annie, to be honest with you. When I show the software in a quick, view, basically what you're going to do is you're going to get on the software. Someone's a resident in there and you are inviting me over. You could put my name in, and you know my cell number. You could send me a pass, and when I get that text message, there's a link, and this is what I open up. This QR code can be scanned at these kiosks. If you look, these kiosks have a scanner right there in the middle. You can scan that QR pass right there, and I'll show you what buttons to hit, to get to that feature. One thing I would suggest today, if you've got anybody there with you, somebody you could use as a test, or a guinea pig, so to speak, just somebody you could use, because I would like for everyone, not only as a resident, to know how to invite a visitor, to know the experience of using the pass at the kiosk. That way you can better help your residents and how to get through, because one of the biggest things with this process is teaching not only the community, but your visitors how to use it. It's going to slow down for a minute, but when everybody gets on board with how to use it, it will speed the process up. So it would be very beneficial if you got the experience of not only giving out a pass, but being a visitor as well. Whether it be your kid, your spouse, or yourself, even send it to yourself. I'm definitely not asking everybody to do this right now and everybody run to the kiosk after this training, because it would cause a backup. But when you have time, please just kind of do that, and it would better help the community in making this more efficient.
If I could make one little point too with the QR scanner, you don't have to, you can actually scan it as you approach it. The scanner's always on. It's very much like going to a department store and there's a price check, or you know, at Publix and doing your own scanning for your food. So it is always on, day or night. So even if the guard is on site standing there, your visitor can utilize it. It opens the gate immediately. We have a little video that shows how fast it is, and that so day or night it can be used, and it just gives your guest or visitor or vendor a very quick entry into the community.
Yes, and keep in mind, everybody's helping out with this. Using the product will make the product work much more efficiently. So please keep that in mind. Okay, well, I was going to show my all box here and kind of give you guys an idea. Didn't know you had that on there, Annie, so I'm not going to do that now. That was a very good showing there that you had some diagrams. So if anybody needs to go back and see that, please, right here, Gatehouse Visitor and Vendor, what to expect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I am going to go through, I am going to go through the actual host software. Now, I actually have, Annie, are you drawing these yellow things here? Or is that
I don't believe I am. I'm not sure how those got there.
I apologize because I do not know how to get them off there. Hold 1 second. Now my whole computer's locked up. I apologize. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we're at the login site.
I can't get anything in my web browser to work right now. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to come back over here. I actually have my own login. I knew that was going to say that. Okay. All right. So I'm logged in here. Sean Jolly, I've made an account within your screen, your site. This is the screen you will see when you log in. The first thing you will see is the main 3 buttons that you will use. This is your visitor database. This is to add a new visitor, and this is for parties and events. We also have some visual information here that if over time will populate. It will be a bar graph here to show you the dates and times as time moves on. And it just gives you an idea how many visitors came during a certain month or whatever it may be. You may find that in one area that we had 8 visitors that day and we were out of town. Well, maybe you left your son at home and he invited a whole bunch of visitors that day. But it's just a way to track how many visitors, and you'll see as time goes that this graph will build across here. I'm a demo login, so I haven't had any visitors show up at Lakewood. I really want this yellow stuff off my screen. Okay, so before I go into what you can do here, I also have a profile settings page. In this, I'm going to go through it first, just so we can talk a little bit about the all box and some of the settings you can have with it, or the kiosk as you guys call it. And then once I do that, these buttons will make a little more sense of how they all play together. So I'm going to go into profile settings, and I'm going to run through each one of these. As I go through one, I'm going to pause and take some questions. So please, if you have any questions for each page, please feel free to type them in, and I will answer them at the end of each of these tabs. So the very first one is your profile. Hopefully, again, we've imported a lot of this. Sean Jolly, hopefully, you know, hopefully that was imported. We have something called a security PIN number. You guys will not utilize that, so I'm not going to go into that. I'll just say it's part of a voicemail module. If you guys ever wanted to use it, I could explain it more, but it basically, if you call into our voicemail module, you need your PIN number to prove who you are, and that ties your phone number to that PIN number. So 2 credentials there. You have a note here, a note section, and in this note section right here, a good example here is do not call after 10 p.m. Well, what that means is any note that you put there, if anybody comes to see you, the guard on site or remotely will see that note. If your example was, please do not call me after 10 p.m., to give a good example, if I were to come by and say Annie lived there, and Annie didn't invite me to come by, but we're good. I'm good friends with her. I'm in the area. I'm going to stop by. And I get there, I don't have a pass. I didn't call Annie, and the guard now, and if it's after 10 p.m., if Annie put do not call after 10 p.m., the guard would not, you know, by this description here, he would let your guest know that, hey, I can't call her. You're going to have to call her. Now, we have a phone directory and all those things in the kiosk, of course, but just want to kind of give you an idea of what this note section's for. If you're hard of hearing, maybe you may want to put, please speak loudly, I'm hard of hearing. Just something that when the guard calls you, they're going to get that note. A lot of people don't put anything, but if there's something that you want the guard to know, and I'm not talking about out of town on vacation, this is every day, the everyday note about yourself. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But do keep in mind, you have the ability to put something there that the guard will see anytime anybody has to see you. If you gave them a pass, a QR code, which I'm going to show the example of, if you gave one of those, then the guard wouldn't need to call you. So keep that in mind. If you did send them a pass, there's no need in the guard to interact and call you. All right, the next section here is notifications. This is kind of we'll call it the horns and whistles, what most people want to know or like about the features. By default, these cannot be automatically checked. They have to come unchecked. Well, I can't force text messages to your phone just simply because you downloaded our application. These messages are the same on both sides. This is the email version. This is the text version. You can do both or just one. One of the things, and I'm going to go through each one of them, an announcement. If by chance the guards or the HOA wanted to make an announcement, hey, don't use this gate, it's being repaid. Please use this gate these days. Now, first of all, the residents have to check in and say they want those announcements, but it can be utilized that way. Maybe we found a lost dog. You know, if you'd like to get announcements like that, you need to opt in to receive them. Same with emails. The next one is visitor arrival. If I showed up and Ann, whether she invited me or not, once I'm allowed in the gate and it's been assigned that I'm coming to see her, she would get if she opted in right here, she could get a text message to say, Sean Jolly's at the front, just arrived at the front gate or whatever gate it may be. And it would tell you what gate they're at. You know, so that's, to me, that's very beneficial. I'd know that, hey, you know, if I'm cutting grass, I need to get off the lawnmower or whatever it may be. I need to be ready for my visitor who's about to show up. You have visitor departure. I don't believe that's Annie. You don't have.
Yeah, just on these options, the opt-in, the announcements we're not planning on using. Possibly, you know, in the future that might be a reason to, but we have other means of communication. So right now, town hall wouldn't be utilizing it. Really, what's for our system would be the visitor arrival. You can be either receive a text or the email if you opt for it, and also the visitor schedule. So if you set up a visitor, then that kind of notifies you by text or email. So those are really the only two at this point that would be valid for our group.
Gotcha. Okay, and I've just checked those three just to show everybody if anybody's following along. So mainly she's saying that you guys would use the visitor schedule. Just to say what that is, if you invited a visitor, you'd get a text message right after, just to let you know you did it. It went through, so you wouldn't question, did that go through? You'd get a text message yourself. I won't talk much about visitor departure because you're not doing departure there. We can, but most of the time people just freely let people go out. So I don't want anybody to check this and complain that you don't have, I didn't find out my visitors are leaving. Right now, we don't have any electronics in place to capture your visitors leaving. So that's why Annie says you're not utilizing it. But if they ever did put that in place and you check that, you could receive those. Visitor denied, I don't even want to go down it much because I think you guys basically have to allow everyone in just due to it's kind of a public road. But if by chance one did not, they got denied, you would get a text. I don't think that would ever happen at Lakewood Ranch, but just to go over the check itself. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to allow for some questions here before I go to the next tab. Annie, can you see if we have any questions?
Yeah, we have a hand raised by someone calling in from 893-5567. I don't know if I just asked to unmute, but I don't know if that's from a phone, so they might have, I believe to unmute, you have to put *6.
Hello.
Hello, we hear you.
Hi. Quick question. The QR codes that you can send to someone that you've invited to come in, is there any way to have a permanent one for a frequent visitor like Country Club East does?
We have 3 different versions, and we'll probably get into those in a little bit when he's showing you how to do the QR codes. But there's a visitor that would be your a shorter term visitor, and that you can schedule, and it can be up to a month that you have the expiration date. The maximum is a month. We have one called permanent. However, it's only good for a year. Same with the vendor. The vendor one, when you send a vendor one, it's good for a year. And the reason for that is policy wise, the board members want our residents to go in and make sure it does require you then to go in and re-invite them, once a year. However, that way we make sure that have your eyes on your list, and there aren't some people that you placed in the permanent 3 years ago, and it's not anybody that you have coming, and there's a QR code floating out there that's still valid for somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, by the way. Okay, any more, Annie?
I don't believe right now.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to move to the next tab, which is address and contact. All right, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, before you run, Mrs. Benfer.
Go ahead.
I think you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, thank you. For the username, when you log in, that would be the address that I pre-registered with for this particular Zoom session, correct?
Yeah, email address, yes.
It is the email that was placed into the software system. We put the database in, and that was the primary email addresses on report or on record here at Town Hall. So if you have any questions about where that registration email went or what yours is, then you can send it to the info @ and we'll let you know what email address it was sent to. And we can work on changing that email address.
Is there a way for us to have 2 emails on there, for instance, or text messages? For instance, if I'm not home, but my husband is, and he needs to have a text message regarding what's happening at the gate, does he need to register as well then?
Yes, your property can have many, we call them family members, and Sean will go over that in just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
So you can each have an account.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll go over that when I get to this tab here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any more questions?
That's it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move to the address contact tab here. And here's where my email address is. This is where, you know, the pre-registration came through, and that's the email address. It's also my username. A lot of this stuff we imported, you know, your address. We didn't have an offsite address. So if you have that, if you don't live there and it's your summer home, you may want to put in your offsite address. This would be helpful for the guards to know, you know, in my opinion. But if you don't want it on there, you don't have to. If you want to put in an emergency contact, again, this is for the guards and the HOA, but if something were to happen to you, the guards would know who to contact. Obviously, they know to contact 911 if it's real serious, but is there anyone else that they need to contact if you want to put that information in there? Now I'm going to go to the top here and talk in particular about your kiosk, your all box kiosk that we were showing. Everybody has the option of having your name, including your personal name if you're the head of the household. Your spouse could have their name in there themselves, or they could just run off of yours. And your kids could have their name in there if you wanted them to. Of course, you'd want them to be of age, of course. But what I want you to know is this checkbox right here decides whether or not your name is in that telephone directory. Now, if you don't check that, your name is not in there. So do keep that in mind. Now, if let's say I'm Tiger Woods and I live in Lakewood Ranch, well, obviously, you know, and I want my name on the call box, but I don't want it to say Tiger Woods because everybody's going to call me. So I have an alias. I could be, you know, Steve Smith here. And now, yes, I'm on the Alba or the kiosk, but it doesn't say my name, you know, and this could be somebody who's a lawyer, you know, in a big case that maybe lives in the neighborhood and you just can't have your name out there. So you can put an alias out there if you choose. Another thing here is called the directory code. This is a code that you have no control of. It's self-generated for you. A 4-digit number here, and when I show the kiosk software, it'll make a little more sense. But it's a way, instead of if you went up and were wanting to call me through the phone directory, and let's just say I was Tiger Woods, you know, now I've got to scroll to the woods or type in, you know, WOODS to get the Tiger and then hit his name. All right. Well, if I became good enough friends with him, he could give me this 7561 code. This doesn't unlock the gate. It simply allows them to go up, hit 7561, and I call that person. I didn't have to go through the directory. I know this code to call them. And it works the same, meaning the person still has to pick up the phone, decide it's you, hit 9, and open the gate. But that's a code that you can give out to people to call you direct. This code also works if you choose not to have your name on the directory. You could choose that I don't want my name out there for people to call me. But however, anybody that I know, I'll tell them to go to the directory code and punch in this number that will call me. But I have direct control over who has that code. Again, that's not a code to let people in. That's a code for people to call you, for you to let them in. Okay, the phone numbers here. This is what I was talking about in the pre-registration. It's going to ask you a primary number. You have a secondary number. Primary number, first of all, is a number that if the guard there needs to call you, they have in their software, they can actually just click on it with a headset and it'll call you and they can talk with you. That's considered the primary number that they need to call you. If that one doesn't work, call a secondary number. Maybe that's your landline and that's your cell line, if that's the way you wanted to do it. But now you have these choices and you could change the order. This order here is really could change the primary. You could make that 1 and that 2, and that would mean call this one first and that one second. But if you don't put anything in there, it looks at it as that one first, that one second. But I want you to know here, notify and directory. Well, obviously in a notify section, to me, I want that to go to my cell phone. So if this is my cell phone, I'll put that in there. That's where I want my notify go back to this page, these announcements. That's what we call notify. So if I come back, I want that, in my case, I have it for text message. I want that to go to that phone number, all notifications. But the directory that's in there, I may want it to go to the landline at the house if anybody still has one. That may be where you want that number. What's on the kiosk may be a different number that you want it to go to than your notifications. If you have more than one address within Lakewood Ranch, you will see both of those properties here. I don't know if anybody there has more than one property, but if you do, you will see that other property to the side here, and you have the ability with one login to invite visitors to both properties. Okay, so I think that's all for this tab. Does any, I'm gonna pause a second and ask, are there any questions on this tab? Man, I'm getting good at this.
No, I'm not seeing any.
All right.
Nobody has their hand raised.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next section here, vehicles. Now, I don't have any vehicles here for Sean and Annie. I don't think you guys.
Sean, yes, we aren't using this part, this module piece. We do, our vehicles and transponders are all held within a different database at Town Hall. So,
okay, I am talking with some people about that, but we'll talk about that at another time. Okay, so I'm going to skip over vehicles just so everybody knows, though. Vehicles and access credentials go hand in hand. How you guys come in your gates right now with your transponders, what your vehicle is, that's self-explanatory, but your access credential would be that transponder. You would have no control of deleting them or anything like that if you did use that, but you could see how many you have under your name. Okay, so won't bore you with it because you're not using it yet. So I'm going to go to out of town. Out of town is a function that it's when you go on vacation, if you're out of town. So a good example, I'll go to add new item. When am I going to be out of town? Let's just say I'm leaving out Saturday and I won't be back till the following Saturday. 2 Saturdays, I'm taking a long vacation. Okay, so here I could just say on vacation, give an example. Mother-in-law will to feed animals, landscaping coming by Wednesday. I got to be able to spell. But anyway, just to give you an example, because what you put in this note, anybody says that they're coming to see you during these time frames, this note is going to pop up to the guard. On vacation, mother-in-law will be by to feed animals, landscaping coming by Wednesday. Well, I would think, I need to make sure my mother-in-law has a pass, and she may have a permanent one. I know mine would. But if not, she needs to make sure get her a pass so she can come by and feed the animals. And landscaping, you kind of got in here that they're coming by on Wednesday, maybe put in a visitor landscaping's coming by Wednesday. You may not know that landscaper's name or what employee they will send, but you can put it in the system. And when they say they're there to see you and it's Wednesday and it's a landscaping crew saying they're there to see Sean, that matches this note. So that helps the guard make a decision if anybody's trying to see you while you've labeled that you're out of town. I'm not going to save the vacation, but that's what you would do at this point. Save the vacation. And again, if you just put I'm on vacation and put no notes in here, the guard doesn't know what to do other than knowing that you're not there when they come. If they have a pass, they have to let them in, which is generally the case anyway. But if somebody comes up and says, hey, I'm here to see Sean, and they don't have a pass, and they see I'm on vacation, it's not my mother-in-law or a landscaping company, I would think the policy would be to turn them away. So a way to let the guards know that you're not there and who's allowed by while you're not there out of town. So before I go to the next piece, are there any questions on out of town?
Probably not. I imagine most people won't utilize it. Our guards, I don't know how much they would use the information if you did place it in there, but it's available, and it would kind of notify them if you had information in there. So
Understood.
completely voluntary.
Okay.
Oh, we have a question from Gail Cole.
Okay.
You should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, I did.
There you go.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Now we can hear you.
This toolbar that says profile, address, vehicles, on vacation, does that come up on the very first page when you log in?
Once you've, no, what I had to do, and I'll show you how I got here. I went to right here with the, I'll call it the gear, and go to profile settings.
Okay, so you click on the gear.
Right there.
Okay.
And then go to profile settings.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Okay. So I was on out of town here. I'm going to move over to family since we're not going to talk access credentials. And the question, not the last question, but the question before, I can't remember her name. I think she was on the phone. But I think this will better answer your question about having other people within your household have a login. I think you asked about usernames. And just to kind of let you see here, I'm going to use an example real quick of me, my wife, an 18-year-old, and let's say a 13-year-old. And that's my two kids, let's say. And I'm going to start with the youngest first because it would kind of make sense here. First of all, the way our system's structured is there is a head of the household, whoever that may be. But usually it's a husband or wife is the head of household. So in this case, I'm the head of household. If I wanted to add my family in here, first of all, I'm going to kind of go through my 13-year-olds. You know, I'm not going to let my 13-year-old do too much out here, but I may give them a login, put the kid's name in, put their email address in here. That is their username when they log in. Keep that in mind. I know someone had asked that question. Select the relationship. Is it a family member? Could be a tenant. You could be, renting your place out. You know, we have the gender side of it. That just helps kind of, finding who's who. But the email, do you want their name in the directory listing? I'm not thinking I'd want my 13-year-old in, her name out there. If by chance I did, I could also give them a directory alias, give them their own primary numbers, notify, things like that. I could even put a note about them, same as me, and the same kind of opt-ins.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
I'm going to turn this phone off. I'm so sorry. And that would be my 13-year-old. Now my 18-year-old, I've got to go one step. I'm going to trust my 18-year-old now to invite their own visitors. So my 18-year-old, when I go in, I'm going to enable the login and allow them to edit their visitors. So then I create that, put the name in, the email address, fill all of this out. And then their login again will be their email address, and they will be asked to give a password when they come in. Now, my wife, if I've learned anything, that everything's split down the middle with my wife. So I cannot have more power than her. So I would have to give her that check. So now she's got a login. She can edit visitors. She can view primary host details, which means she can go in here and, change any of these things, our emergency contact, any of that. She can change all of that. So I'm going to go back to family, but just want to show the difference here between each of these 3 checks. So depending on what you want to allow your family member to do, those are the 3 options. And with
Sean,
that,
if you had a tenant, which I've had this question before, so in the tenant realm, you'd probably want to just enable them a login and then to edit all visitors because they could edit their own visitors. However, as the owner of the property, you are the primary host, so you wouldn't want them to see your details or anything, but they would have their own login and password. And then when their lease is up and they leave you, you can actually delete them as a family member. And so they then, you're kind of one of your things to do once they leave with your lease.
that's correct. Good point. So if anybody is renting out, you'd want to enable user login and give them edit all visitors. Don't allow them to have that. That's the owner. The owner has that ability. If you give them that, they can kick you. Well, they can't kick you off of it, but they can make changes. So do keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions on family members?
Looks like we have one chat question. Hold on, I have to increase my screen size to read it. Okay, this question is very specific to an issue that occurred at the gate, so I will take that offline and speak to it. We do with our lists of groupings. Eventually, the Edgewater gate, we have some database cleanup to do, but the Edgewater gate will only receive or QR codes that residents in Edgewater produce will be good at the Edgewater gate. At Legacy, anybody from the country club that does a QR code, it would be usable for their guests at the Legacy gate. And then eventually at the Balmoral gate, it's completely turned off right now, the QR reader itself. However, it would only be QR codes provided to visitors and vendors from District 6 residents. So that's the neighborhoods just right around Balmoral would be the only ones to send them to the Balmoral gatehouse. But I'll answer your question specifically offline. Thank you.
Okay, any more?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so the last one here, guys, we made this for a community. One thing about community software is you can't tell a community how to run it. So we built our software by learning from communities what they want. And one particular community asked us to put their pets on there. We did think it was kind of silly, but we did it, and now everybody loves it. I can't show pictures here because I don't have one, but if you have your pet, add a new pet. Put in the pet's name, the species, the color, the breed. Keep in mind, and I say this is how this particular module benefited, and we didn't see it coming. Everybody loves to take a picture of their animal, and you put your picture here. You put the name up there, but if you ever get you miss your dog and all of a sudden the guardhouse calls you and says they found your dog, you'll be a very happy person. So with that being said, it became very valuable. People loved it. We've got a lot of thank you for your software. I found my, wonderful, whatever the dog's name may be. And I understand, I love my dog too. But if you use this, keep in mind, use I wouldn't call it buff, I'd call it brown. So don't get in a tag number, put the tag number in, because if this dog, somebody finds it, they could take it to the HOA, the guardhouse. If you have your pet in this software, they can look it up there, and keep in mind, use some generic stuff, meaning don't call Buff here, call it Brown. They can look that dog up and find out who the owner is, and you would be very happy if they found your animal. So just a little horn and whistle, but it would, again, we've gotten a lot of praise out of it. It's a free module and everybody loves it. So I won't bore anybody with that one, but does anybody have any questions about the pets module?
Doesn't it seem so? So we can move on.
Okay. All right. So now I've gone through the profile settings. That's wanted everybody to know kind of what you have to set up in the background to make that kiosk out there have your name on it, or another name, because you don't want your name on it. So everybody kind of has an idea how to put your info out there. Now I'm going to show you how to actually send a QR code to someone. How do I send somebody this pass? So we have 3 buttons here. Dead in the middle is add visitor. So I'm going to click that. And here's where I do ask if you've got a guinea pig there, if you've got, use your own phone, you make up a visitor here. But again, I do ask that you go through this process and get the experience of not only issuing one, but utilizing one out at the kiosk, so you can do your part and help them make sure this solution works for you. So I'm going to use the same people I did last time. I am a big Buffalo Bills fan, so I'm inviting Josh Allen over. Now here you could put in a company. It could be a landscaping company. If it's just a friend, I don't see a need in doing it. But if you wanted to, you might want to put, Joe's Plumbing. So you may not even know who say you have plumbing coming over. You could put plumbing technician, first name plumbing, last name technician, and put the name of the company, and that would suffice the guards to let them know there's a plumbing company to come see you. But if it's a specific visitor, like I'm showing here, put their name in. And if they're not with a company, no need to put anything in there. Destinations, this is always customized to your site. And I'll look in here, you have a lot of different destinations. So you would want to pick some of these. By default, it's host address, in that you are the host. Every resident is a host to the visitor. Host address is your home address. So for demo purposes, I'm going to say you're coming by the house. But you see, you have some other options here that may fit your need, and try to be consistent with it, or think about it, I'll say, because all of these things you do, if they ever needed to be a report done to find out what happened here, all of these areas are a way to filter the reports. Was it lawn care? Let's just do a report on lawn care people. And the better you guys use these, the better the reports would be. So I'm going to use host address. It could be an additional destination. It could be that they're coming to my house first, but then we're going to the swimming pool. I don't know if you guys actually have a public swimming pool there, but it could, just to give you an idea, they're coming by the house and then we're going to swimming pool. Maybe play golf. I don't know if you have I don't think you have a golf. Yeah, I think you may.
One of our areas does.
Yeah, maybe they're coming to your house and then later we're going to play golf. You don't have to put anything there, but it just informs the guard of what this visitor is doing. If you want the guards to do their job, they need to know what the visitors are there for. We have different types of visitors. You have a vendor, a regular visitor, a permanent visitor, and parties. Now, Ann, I know you guys put some rules on these, and I apologize, I don't remember exactly what rules you had on each one, please.
I'll go through them. If you just pick visitor type, that is for kind of your visitors that are coming. Let's say you're having somebody for the weekend, or they're going to be with you for a week. So you kind of want to schedule their dates, and it's good for that week that they're here. So you have the scheduled date when it starts, and then the expiration date that can be up to as long as a month. Then the other types are permanent. So this would be if your daughter-in-law comes and visits you once, twice a week, and she's just a visit you quite often, that will be good for a year. Then on the vendor side, the vendor type, that is also good for a year. And if you should fire your cleaning lady, your landscaper, you could just go back into your system and delete them as a visitor. And so that would take care of the, so, or if you just have them for 6 months, you only, or they're coming in for, you know, a month to remodel your bathroom or something like that, then you could delete them after the work is done.
And then vendor. Oh, no, parties.
Mm-hmm. And parties are good for a day. We just kind of, that's the situation. If you want to send you have a whole list of people, and Sean will go over, you know, doing a party here in a little bit, but that's really just good for a day. It's your Super Bowl party you're going to have. Yeah,
that's right. With the Buffalo Bills. I'm just kidding. So yeah, guys, you can't have an all week party. So that one thing about our software is very flexible. We work with Annie and her group, and there were some rules on it, and understandably so. So with that being said, those were worked out with Lakewood Ranch as to how long these different types can stay, or the passes are. So for demo, I'm going to go to a regular visitor, and I could schedule what day they're coming. I could get granular. Notice today's the 20th, I'm just going to leave it for today, but the 20th started at 12:01 a.m. and it ends at 11:59 p.m. That's what the 20th is. If that's an issue for you, you can get granular, and you can get in here and say, hey, they're not allowed till, 8 o'clock. Oh, you got to click this. Sorry. You got to come in here, click that, go to 8 a.m. on the 20th. And now I can get granular. I could go in and do that one as well. Maybe it's from 8 to 6 is the only time I want this pass to let them in. So do keep that in mind. If these are not checked, it is really truly a 24-hour pass. Once you've done that, you can also, you can send it via email, or you can send it via cell phone. Now, I don't see a reason to send one. Does anybody here want to be Josh Allen and give me your cell phone number, and I'll be more than happy to shoot you a QR code so you can see it?
If you want to do me,
okay,
Sean, I can show him how it comes out.
Okay, what is your cell number, Annie? It is
941-302-8800.
Okay, so, and don't put dashes in here, guys. That is one thing. You just need to put the number. Now I could put a note to say, Annie is the president of LWR Treat with VIP. I could put something like that. And when Annie gets there, the guard will see something about her that will show up. If it could be something different though, I'm calling Annie the president here, but if you have a friend or a family member that maybe is either hard of hearing or handicapped, there may be something that you want the guard to know about them, when they pull up. And it could be something as simple as, hey, tell her happy birthday, whatever. But whatever you put here, it's meant for you to tell the guard something about this visitor. If you have no need to tell them anything, don't put anything. But if you wanted to, you can. Now, what I'm going to do, if I hit save, all that did was put Josh Allen, which was the name, and we'll call it Annie now. You know what? Let me do that. Annie, how you spell your last name?
ROSS.
Oh, yeah. I got two projects, an Annie and an Ann right now. Really messing me up. But anyway, okay. So as I invite Annie, if I hit save, Annie didn't get an e-pass. She did not get that QR code. all I've done is said that Annie Ross is in the system for the guard to see to come see me. When Annie gets there, the guard can put them two together and let her in, but she doesn't have a QR code because I didn't save and send e-pass. That's a real key feature. If you just hit save, yes, the visitor's in the system. The guards can tie it all together. They may, I don't know what's the policy with driver's license, but if you just put Annie Ross was coming up, if the policy was, hey, I'm Annie Ross, I'm here to see Sean Jolly, if that's good enough, then they can, let them in and log that information. But to make things quicker, what you want to do is save and send e-pass, which I'm going to do right now.
You'll be able to see it on the Ann Ross, Town Hall on your video portion, depending if you're watching the video portion. So it just came up. It says Sean Jolly at 7650 Lakewood Ranch has sent you a, sorry, let me get my other finger. So it sent me a text, and dear Ann, Sean Jolly has invited you basically, and it has a link. So choosing that link, and then there's my QR code. And what we would suggest is they take a screenshot and keep it in their photos just to find it a little easier.
Yeah. And there's another thing on there too, Annie, I think you're using the keypad too, right?
Yes. So the PIN code is there as well. I can kind of highlight that.
I'll tell you what, I believe I could pull it up right here from your website, Annie, and give everybody a little better look. I don't know, maybe you guys can see it better than me, but let me go back in here real quick.
I think you're on the page, Sean, the what to expect.
Oh, you're right.
It's the sub page, yeah.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm the worst at making demos go forever. I do apologize. Okay, so this is a quick look here, and there's the QR code. You also see a PIN code number there, if everybody sees that. And just keep that in mind, because I'm going to show that to you. This PIN code is going to be unique to that personal QR code. And I'll show that feature as to why there's a PIN code there as well. And so let me go back. Just keep that in mind. I'll show that. I wanted everybody to see what a pass looks like and see that PIN code, because when I show the all box software, it'll make more sense to you. So now that I've added Annie, over to the left here is my personal visitor database. These are my friends. Annie, as you see, I just added there. In the future, if I wanted to, I could go here, edit, and simply change the date, save and send e-pass, and I don't have to go through all of that, adding Annie's information back in. This will all start to populate. And again, all you have to do is go over here to the right, hit edit. The visitor that came last week, if they're coming again this week, you can simply change the dates, save and send e-pass. You still have the cell phone number, which is not on this one, but if you did have one, all of that, and they'll get a new QR code. Every QR code is specific to the visitor and to the visit. So if I came by last week to see you, and then I'm coming back again this week, that QR code you sent me for this week's a totally different QR code. So it's not like you can take an old one and reuse it. It had an expiration date. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to run over here to parties and events. This is kind of self-explanatory.
Sean, before you run over there, we do have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
And this has happened with a few because we pre-populated the information with the primary host name, which whoever we have on record at Town Hall as the first email address, that's who got picked as the primary. And then we have quite often we have their significant other as the host, first family host, and pre-populated. So that happens when that occurs. It's not the edit all visitors and the view primary host details aren't automatically checked. And so, for instance, that person, if they made up their password and everything, if they're not seeing like family and pet tabs and all those, then there's
They
two
are.
ways to go. There's two ways to go about fixing that. They could have the primary person, which, you know, if they don't know who it is, they can contact info at, and we'll help them through it, and just have them log in and give permission for them as a family member to be able to edit the visitors and view the primary host details if that's what is appropriate. So that just was one question.
Okay, I think you answered it though, right, Annie?
I think so, unless I said something incorrectly that.
No, I think you just answered it the way I would have answered it. So yeah, you are correct.
So the best, if anybody on the line is having that issue as well, then go ahead and contact us at info at, and we'll help you out with that.
Yep. And
And then the next question was, when will this be available on the mobile app? And I believe everything is on this very similar on the mobile app. I have downloaded it. I haven't used it a lot, but I have added visitors, and
it's called TEKControl, by the way. TEKControl.
and I can, on the follow-up email to everyone, we do have the online, and then in the follow-up email, I'll send you a link to the guide for the mobile app, and it shows you exactly what the icon looks like. So in that guide from TechWave, it shows you where to download the app. It's available both on Apple and Android.
That's correct, and it's free. I'm actually looking for it now. TEKControl Visitor Management, TEKControl, all one word.
Okay, and so another issue that you don't get the parties and events button if you don't have that permission from whoever has the master host address email account. So again, if that's not showing on when you log in, those are the kind of things that you can work with info at lwrtownhall.com to fix. And I believe that's our questions for now. You can go ahead and go on to parties.
All right. So, and I hate it for the ones that don't have it there, but I think it'll be a little self-explanatory. But when you go in here, first thing you want to do, I don't have any, but let's just say I add a new one. We'll say Super Bowl party. And I could put the description, keep in mind it could be a retirement party, birthday party, whatever it may be. But I'll just put again, Super Bowl party. And from your data, well, I'm going to go through each one. You obviously have to take a start date, you know, whatever date that is. And I think you guys only have the ability to do a one-day party. Let me make sure. I think you only, well, right now I'm going to put it as a one day. I got to verify that. But let's just say I'm having a Super Bowl party. I might want to be notified only on the first visitor, because I don't want to get text. I've got 30 people coming by. I just want to know when the first one gets at the gate. So I don't want one with all the others on this invite, because it may beep off the whole time. But if you don't, and you check to notify every time somebody comes to the gate, you will get that checked. But I'm going to check it, notify on first visitor only. You could put in a time here in minutes, and that would give you, like, if this is before the start of the party. So I may want to know an hour before the party is supposed to start is how long before I want to know when the first visitor shows up. That's all that's saying. Now, right here in the middle, select existing visitors. This is my personal visitor database. I don't have a lot here, but I'm going to invite Annie over, put her in, add visitor. Notice she came down here. I could go Josh Allen will be at the Super Bowl, so I'm going to pick somebody else. And I could just go through the list. As you build your database, more people are here. But let's just say they're not in your database. So here I could put, you know, if they're not in my database, I could put Tim Smith. I need his email or phone number, put that in. You know, I could add that visitor. And as you can see, I can build this whole list. And when I'm done, save and send ePass. Now I've sent that whole group a pass, their own individual pass too. It's not one pass that all of them have that's the same pass. Everyone, like when Ann shows up and scans her pass, it will know that it was Annie that showed up. It wasn't David, it wasn't Tim. This one was Annie. So each one's unique to the visitor. So that's how you kind of do and the list could get bigger. We have other ways to do a big party. That's usually done by the HOA. Maybe there's a spot where people come and rent an area to do weddings and things. But normally Annie and those people would handle those particular things. But the reason I wanted to bring that up, if it's the whole party, you don't have that information, there is an Excel sheet that we have you can give out to the wedding party. And I'm saying this isn't your wedding. This is something separate. And they fill it out, we import it, and then send out an ePass. I don't think you guys personally would do it, but keep in mind, if there's a big enough event, we have the ability, if you can get that out to the event planner, to import all of that for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home screen now. Are there any questions? I've kind of gone through everything with the demo of the software. My next piece, I want to actually show the kiosk software. But before I go there, I want to open up for any last questions on the software itself.
Sean, we have just some questions on the app showing like the icons so that it's easy to figure. I've placed, let me stop, I'm going to stop you sharing just for a moment.
Okay.
I'm going to share mine. Just if everyone wanted to, you can take a picture of this or I'll follow it up with, you know, an email to everyone as well after the session, and I'll provide this again. But this is kind of how you get to our web pages. So if you wanted to show somebody those pictures or read a little bit more, there's all the links to the different guides, both the web portal and the mobile app. Here's what the TEKControl TechWave Solutions icon looks like. So that would be what you'd be looking for in the App Store. But that guide that we have that TechWave has given us, you know, goes through exactly what it looks like. It has screenshots of what it looks like in the store. So that'll be also a very good source. Okay, so I'll put this up again at the end.
I want to let everybody know real quick that please use the TEKControl Visitor Management app. There is another app that we have called TEKControl Mobile app, but it's a different app. You'll see the difference, but make sure you get the TEKControl Visitor Management app.
Okay, good to know. I didn't know there was two kind of similar, so I'll make sure in my communications that I'm very clear about that. Here's Mrs. Benfer again has a question.
Yes. For instance, some of the vendors, they come at certain times of the year. They don't bother to tell me when they're coming. They just come, they work outside. For instance, like pest management. So I wouldn't be able to put in the date and the time they were coming. I would just expect them to be allowed through.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They are. There's and Sean will probably show you this once we get to this next session where he kind of shows you what the kiosk is like. there is always the default, no matter who comes, there's a call guard button. And that button basically calls the remote guard, and they ask the same questions as if the guard is standing there, and talk with the visitor through the kiosk. And they say, what is your name? Who are you going to see? And then they let them in. So for those instances, you know, they just need to call the guard.
Okay, thank you.
They will more than likely, most of your vendors like that would be coming during the day. And right now during the day, we have an on-site guard. So if they happen to, if it was a food delivery person at 7:30 at night or 8 o'clock at night, you're getting some late dinner, that would be another one that you don't know them, you don't know who's going to come. So they need to just call the guard, and then they say who they're going to see, what the address is, and they get let in.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, Sean, if you want to grab the screen back, you're welcome.
Okay. All right, so is that it for the questions on the software?
I believe so. I think we can move on.
Okay, so give me 1 second here. I want to verify that you guys will see this screen. Do you guys see my screen? TechWave all box here?
No, we're not seeing it.
That's
We're
all
still
right.
on the software.
All right, give me 1 second. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, now your picture is going to be a little different, everybody. I have the software actually loaded on my laptop, but I did get the configuration from Lakewood, the next screen I'm going to show you. So this is called the home screen, and in your situation, it's a touch screen. I think you have a different picture up here than what I have, but
We still have that same one. We just haven't, it's
Haven't loaded it.
not on the priority to switch the picture yet. We'll get there.
Gotcha. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, Annie, but we have the ability, that picture you see in the back, we could put the pretty picture that's all over the Lakewood Ranch stuff. I'm sure you guys know a couple of them that we could put in the splash background here. But by default, they come up and they touch the screen. This is what they see. And we did this especially for Lakewood as far as the arrangements here. The big one here is call the guard. This is our remote guard. When someone hits that, I'm not going to do today, but that will call the guard that Annie just spoke about. And they can, you know, do everything that the guard could do standing there. So that's why it's a bigger function, because that right now that's the one that's mainly used. When somebody pulls up and there's a guard, they don't use much of this other than maybe the QR pin access, things like that. Now, I'm going to go to the right and down. That one was pretty self-explanatory, I hope. That calls you a remote guard.
Sean, we didn't use the member access, so that's not on our options.
Okay.
We just have the directory code and QR pin that shows up on ours.
Okay, so guys, don't pretend as if you didn't see this one. I won't even tell you what it is, but yours won't have this function. However, you do have these three. And I'm going to go through directory first, since I kind of explained some of the things we were doing earlier. Directory, I'm going to click on. As you can see here, I could go through the list. I could find, you probably know some of these names. I do believe this is your residence, if I'm not mistaken, if any of these names ring a bell. But anyway, to let you know, this would be where the directory is. This is where your name could show up. They could go here and you know, type in a name. If it's Cole, it only pulls up the Coles, whatever it may be. So that's the direct. Once they hit that, that will call what's called your directory number. If you guys remember me showing you primary and secondary number where you could notify and directory, the one you check directory by will be the one that when anybody goes in here, if you chose to have your name out here, that will be the number that it calls. Directory code. Everybody remember when I said we had a 4-digit code that if you didn't want to go through the list? Now keep in mind, we're going to go back to the directory. It's not very filled out yet, but once everybody gets on board, this could get to be a very big list. So that directory code, that 4-digit code that I showed everybody, you could go here, punch in that 4 digits, call, and that will call that resident. If you guys remember what I was talking about there, that was the quick way to say, hey, just use this code and it'll call me direct. Go to directory code.
So if I can just describe how those are used, we are having a lot of confusion with visitors coming up and wanting to go to the directory because it is your option to be in it. So we're kind of reviewing that to see is that something we want to keep, because it is causing a lot of the visitors and vendors frustration. They go to the directory and your name's not in it. So what happens though, if your name was in it, they go to the directory or they put the directory code 4-digit number in, hit call, then it calls you on your phone number that you have as your preference. You answer and you're speaking with the visitor through the kiosk. So just they're on your phone line, but they're speaking into the kiosk. They say, hey, it's Sally, I'm here, can you let me in? And then you dial on your phone number 9, and that actually raises the guard, the gate arm. So you allow them access. So we're evaluating those two because that does, at the visitor side and vendor side, for some reason they want to go to the directory, not the call guard. And like we said earlier, call guard is really your last, it's your end all be all. Whether if you don't have a code, you really should be just calling the guard. The directory would be nice if you're ready, you know you're going to be standing by the phone and you know when they're coming.
That's correct. And keep in mind too, when you hit 9 on your phone, we log all the information. It is a somewhat of a security system. So if you let somebody in, it will log that you let them in. You know, we won't know who it is because they just called, but it will let you know that Mr. Jones let a visitor in at 9 p.m. So keep that in mind. Okay. And that made me think, and it's maybe a subject offline, but maybe we need to relabel this to say call guard / vendors. You know, maybe all vendors hit that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just something. We'll talk offline about it.
Sure,
okay.
Sure.
Okay, guys. So the big thing I talked earlier about everybody having a guinea pig to use. This will be the feature you use, the QR and PIN access. As Annie said, you guys can write up, we visitors can, and just automatically scan that QR code and it'll open the gate. But you also remember me digging in and showing you the PIN code. That the PIN code's kind of look at it like this. If me and my family came to visit you for the weekend and I only have one pass that went to my phone, but my kids, you know, they may get Uber and want to check your town out. And when they come back, they don't have that QR code. So that PIN code there, I could give out to my family members where they can come back in. Say when they come in with Uber, they could simply punch in that code. When they go here, hit QR PIN access, you will see it kind of gives a little illustration there of scanning your phone. This will actually show on the kiosk. So they can scan that QR code. But that PIN code that's also there, let's just say, oh man, my phone's dead. You really need to, that's a good reason to get that code and maybe hand it out to your family members, whoever's visiting with you. And that way you could just punch that in when you come back versus pull out your phone and do the QR code. That's what that PIN code's for. And I don't want anybody to get the PIN code. Well, never mind, you're not using that. Sorry, Annie. So go back to this. That PIN code can be used here and will work as long as the expiration date. It's the exact same thing as this QR code. So whatever days that QR code works, so will that PIN number. And all of that will log. When you come in from a history standpoint, it would have said that, you know, Annie Ross came in to see Sean Jolly at this time and date. So all of it is logged. All of that data, we can grab at any time and run reports. So that's kind of your kiosk. Again, I ask everybody, if you don't mind, go through the process, send a code, you know, go when maybe it's not so busy and just test it out, go out there and use it. And that way, you know, when your visitor comes, you have the idea, you know how it's used. You can better tell them, hey, especially when you send it to your buddy or your friend the first time, say, I know it's different, but try it. When you get there, hit QR pin access, or you don't even have to do that. Just scan that and open it. So just do it. So you have you can help spread the information about how to use this thing. Okay, well, that is everything on the all box. Does anybody have any questions on it?
I'm not seeing any. I'd like to go ahead and go back up and put my, I'll have you stop sharing and I'll share that view again. So if anybody needs to write that down, I will also follow up to everyone on the call. If you did register for the class, those are the emails I do have. So I will send an email to that group with some links and helpful hints on a few items. And that should get you up and started and hopefully get you going.
And thanks for everybody taking the time, by the way. I really appreciate it. I can't stress enough that how much you guys getting on board with the software has to do with the success of the software. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time to learn how to use it. Thank you.
Okay, so if you play around with it and then have some questions or run into any trouble, you can send an email to info@lwrtownhall.com. And then this is how you kind of go to the lakewoodbranchgov.org, find your service menu. That's where the Gatehouse Visitor Management System page and the What to Expect subpages. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.